meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Freeholder Bobadilla. Present. Freeholder Vice President Gill, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Jones. Present. Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder Toro, absent. Freeholder President Timberlake.
Here. Okay. I'm going to ask if we could please stand to salute the flag. I'm going to ask if Freeholder Jones please lead us in that salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remain standing for a moment of silence. And in particular, I ask that you remember someone who is very dear to this county, my good friend by the name of Peggy Dunnigan. Thank you. I should have said former Bloomfield Councilwoman Peggy Dunnigan, and recognizing Freeholder Cynthia Toro present with us. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved? I have before me, actually, before we get there, I have before me a certification from the clerk that this meeting is indeed in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Are there any transcripts to be approved?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay. Are there any topics of discussion?
Yes, Madam President. Provident Bank was unable to make the Bank Review Program Committee meeting on November the 28th to present their annual report. So we welcome them here this evening to do so.
Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and affiliation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you move the mic out?
Is this on?
It's okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You can take the microphone down.
Pardon?
You can take it down and hold it.
Move the stand over too.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to present tonight. For our annual report, I'd just like to talk a little bit about our... Sure. For our annual report this year, I'd like to talk a little bit about our lending activities, especially in the low moderate income areas. In 2016, which is the most recently available public data and information I'm allowed to share, Provident Bank made 1,625 loans, of which 49 were in Essex County. Of the 49, 6 were in low-income areas, 21 were in moderate-income areas, 9 were in middle, and 13 were in upper. In addition to those home loans, Provident makes community loans, they make car loans, and we make all different types of lending to help and assist in low moderate income areas, particularly with overdraft checking and the type of loan that allows people to avoid overdraft fees, but instead pay the interest, which is much less than it would be in an overdraft fee. In addition, small business loans in 2016 totaled 667 loans, of which 41 were in Essex County. We'd like to see that number increase, and if there's a way that we can work with this group, we certainly would like to entertain that and have a conversation. With regard to those 41, the loans in low and moderate income tracts were 9 for 22%. Loans with revenues, small businesses with revenues less than $1 million were 7 loans or 17%, and loans, percentage of loans with in amounts of less than $100,000 or less were 56% or 23 loans. In addition, we made 1 loan for community development purposes, which is for affordable housing in East Orange for $2,525,000.
Which project was that?
It is a project that had to rehab some of vacant properties that allowed multifamily housing to occur.
Which organization?
Pardon?
Organization.
I don't remember it. I don't have specifics, but I can provide that to you.
Okay.
So that summarizes our lending activity. As far as grants and that's are concerned, Provident Bank Foundation, which is separate from the bank itself, and the bank itself makes donations to community groups in and of it by itself. But the foundation itself in 2016 made 15 grants for $68,000, and in 2017, we've made 15 grants for a total of $117,000. Of those, the monies were used to help elderly people, to assist disabled persons, to assist low and moderate income persons in a variety of avenues and a variety of needs, including financial literacy, health care, and situations such as that. Provident also offers low and moderate income type of lending for first-time home buyers, in both residential lending for purchase money or refinance of a purchase money loan, home equity loans and lines of credit, and unsecured loan lines of credit that allow the borrower to avoid paying situations of 18, 20% interest rates on small dollar loans that are needed to tide them over for various items of household needs and things of that nature.
How many
Those
of
loans
those
are
did you do?
unsecured.
How many of those loans did you do?
There was 72 of those loans.
For low to moderate income first-time homebuyers? How many foreclosures do you have?
Pardon?
How many foreclosures do you have?
We have
Essex County?
7 foreclosures in 2016.
Okay. Do you have a subsidiary who does any holdings for you that might have more under there, or?
No, it's all part of the bank.
Okay. You hold your portfolio in-house?
We have 1 loan in Essex County in the portfolio. That is for
So that 7 in
foreclosure.
2016, was that in Essex?
Yes.
And what products do you have to work with people to stay in their homes?
We subscribe to all the federal regulations and laws. We have programs that allow to avoid foreclosure and forbearance programs, payment reduction programs, loan amount reduction programs, and other terms and conditions that can help the borrower stay in the home.
Do you do principal rate reductions?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And I guess that's something that was offered to those 7?
Yes.
Principal rate reductions.
I don't have the statistics of all of those qualified for those, but they were all offered the same availability, and it depends on the circumstances of the borrower's particular situation in which would they may qualify for the particular term reduction that is needed to help them stay in the home.
All right. Freeholders? Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Well, thank you for your report. I do want to put on the record that, we are doing this as a courtesy to have you come before us in this meeting. But the banking meeting, we had tried to get Provident here, and we had a difficult time. So, and we have I believe it's over $20 million with Provident. So, we need to make sure that you understand that this body is very serious about this. We're very serious about reducing foreclosures in Essex County. At least I know for sure that I am. We're leading the state in having the highest foreclosures, and New Jersey's leading the country. And people are being displaced, and in many cases are not being offered a diverse product base, including something called principal rate reductions, in order to keep them in their home. So, we have to stop the bleeding because we're certainly hemorrhaging. And this is something that happens every year in November. And like I said, as a courtesy, we're having you come before us in our meeting at the last, this is our last meeting of the year. But I want you to know and to relay how serious we are about this. Because all of that $20 million, it's made up of taxpayer dollars. So we have to make sure that when we vote on that cash management plan, January 1, that we are including banks that are willing to comply with the ordinance and work with the community and reduce foreclosures. Because again, it's, at the end of the day, the community's money. And I believe that's a major part of fiscal responsibility for what legislators should be doing. Real Richardson?
Yeah, through you, Madam President. So of the 7 foreclosures that you have, what is the status of them? Are they boarded up? Are they empty now? Someone living in them? What's the status?
So all of the properties in the foreclosures, only one is inhabited. The rest of the properties have been disposed of and dispersed. The one that is inhabited is still inhabited by the borrower.
So what does that mean, they've been disposed of and dispersed?
So the bank worked with the borrowers to help them move into another location. The properties were taken back and sold.
So so you don't know, so do you hold the mortgages and loans on the ones that were sold?
No. They can be to any other financial institution.
So they
don't
could
have
be
to
boarded up right now and?
No, I don't know the answer to that. They weren't when we took them back, and we sold them to eligible borrowers. There had to be a payback to the bank of the monies owed. May not have been the full principal balance of that loan, but there had to be monies paid back to the bank in order to acquire that property. I would assume those lending institutions that made those loans to those borrowers to acquire the foreclosed property did their due diligence and made sure that they qualified and that they were able to afford that home.
So 6 of the 7 are now occupied by new owners,
I believe so, but
and,
we don't track that information.
That's what
right,
you said.
and the one is still owner occupied,
Correct.
but it's already gone through the process of foreclosure?
It
You're
is
still
in the-
trying to offer?
It is in the foreclosure process.
Where are they located?
I don't have the specifics on it.
And then what does the bank do to ensure that they're keeping and maintaining the properties in between that time of it being vacated by the owner who experienced the foreclosure and then being picked up by a new homeowner?
So we comply with all the federal regulations and the town ordinances. We do maintain a property in condition that is suitable for the township and under the regulations of the township. Lawns are cut, snow is removed, and things of that nature. There's a service that we use, and then there's a process that we follow up with that service, and we also do site visits to make sure that the properties are being maintained.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Acker, am I correct in the assessment of around $20 million?
Yes.
Give or take, right? Okay. Mr.
So when you
Freeholder?
do a foreclosure before the sale to someone else, is the property boarded up?
No,
So you never board them up?
no.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Freeholders? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this concludes the topic of discussion. We're going to move to public comment session, and we're going to ask if there's any members of the public wishing to comment on agenda items only, please come forward. And if there is any members of the public wishing to comment on any issue at all, please come forward and state your name and affiliation for the record. And you will have 3 minutes to speak, monitored by the clock to my right.
Good evening, freeholders. I'm R.A. Cowboy, 48th District Leader in Newark, in South Ward. And I'm not coming here to bring on a whole lot of different things. I like to work out the rest of the year on a good note and say that I'm proud that I'm still here to try to help out around the park and the area, and I'm pleased to the way I feel that freeholders have carried themselves through the year. I'm pleased with things that they have done for me and done for the park, and I would like to say there's just one thing. There was a beautiful holiday party down there at the Weekway Park today, and it turned out very well with ShopRite and Panasonic sponsoring a lot of it. The prizes were really nice, and the place was pretty well packed, and the people were pleased with the way things went, and even Weekway Park Sports Authority handled themselves very well down there. But I would also like to know, maybe by the first of the year, what is the circumstances of how they are handling themselves in the park, to what can be done to know how the people can be served in that park a little bit better than being charged. Like I would like to have, we was playing dominoes, and it seemed like they wanted to charge the seniors or whatever, and they don't want to pay, so they leave it. Like at 2 o'clock, we're being pushed out to to get the floor mopped, but there isn't anything else going on in the park after that. And even if something has been canceled, and I'll be looking at a little television or something, I'm put out because it seems like I'm not allowed to be sitting in the rooms. And I think that the park can be used a little bit more and some of the ideas that I have. But I'll work with that when we get to the beginning of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And happy holiday.
You too, Mr. Cowboy. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment on any issue at all? Please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record.
Good evening, everybody.
Just got to speak in the mic, name for the record.
Okay, just state your name and affiliation for the record.
Okay, my name is Andrew Ewan. I live in the Essex County. I'm a member of New Jersey Community United. The consequences for the bank who are not...
Sir, can you lean into the microphone for me?
Okay. The consequences for banks who do not comply with the responsible banking ordinance. While the county may not have the authority to regulate the banking industry, they can divest all county funds from non-compliant banks. That every member of the Essex County Board of Freeholders take this ordinance seriously. When the agenda includes discussion of the responsible banking ordinance or a presentation from a bank, board members must make it a priority to attend that meeting. By not attending, you are telling the banks that you have little interest in the ordinance or in the enforcement. And you are telling the resident that you are unconcerned about predatory lending, illegal foreclosures, fake accounts, community reinvestment, or the foreclosure crisis. You may not care, but we do. The fact that the ordinance like this is needed means that the commercial banking industry is broken and corrupt. The county needs to support effort to establish the public banking in New Jersey, to set a standard for how banking should happen in our state and in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment? Please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record.
Sure. Roger Folklorico, New Jersey Communities United, and I'm speaking on behalf of our member Paulette. She's going through a medical condition. It's hard for her to stand up and speak, but she fought foreclosure for Wells Fargo for about half a decade and made it into a collective point. And it took about half a decade for Wells Fargo to actually remove themselves from her property, remove their claim from her property, to actually implicitly admit wrongdoing in terms of her toxic loan. And I'm going to echo what Andrew just said. You all need to be in the room when the banks are here. It's completely unacceptable that the vast majority of you weren't there. You are the body that is positioned right now with the authority to hold them accountable to the ordinance that was fought for and pushed through. I would argue it could be stronger, but the point is you're still at the point of authority to do that. And for there only to be one freeholder really asking the serious questions, and it's not rocket science. How many foreclosures do they have in the county? What are they going to do about it? How are they going to keep people in Essex County in the homes? You have the worst mortgage situation in the country. Detroit, it would be would be an improvement. And for you to be absent, for you to have prioritized other things, There are people who have fought foreclosure, have organized their neighbors, and they're outraged at you, and it doesn't need to be that. You're the body that can do it. You're the public body that can do it. The citizenry doesn't need to be outraged at you. But right now, that's the situation, and since you have a monthly context in which to be reminded about what you haven't done or what you're not currently doing, you know, it'll be incumbent upon the people who are already fighting this to let the rest of the public know and make this increasingly uncomfortable until you operate as, you know, the public body that you are.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment on any issue at all?
Good evening. My name is James Harris. I'm here representing the New Jersey Association of Black Educators. Happy holiday to everybody. I come tonight to speak about the responsibility of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders in approving people to sit on the Essex County College Board of Trustees. There is a law and there's regulation, and I wonder if the Freeholder Board members know what the law is. There is a requirement that the county exec follow a process for nominating people to the Essex County College Freeholder Board. That process involves a committee. The committee is supposed to be independent of employees, but they must be people from the county. The people who are sitting on the Board of Freeholders now, who were sent through you to the college, did not follow that process. So they are seated illegally. So the question is, since Essex is now on probation, and I hope everybody on the board realizes what probation is not something to be taken lightly, because it puts Essex County College, one of two predominantly black colleges in Essex County, and the only two predominantly black colleges in the state, at risk of losing its accreditation. The word is already out, and misinformation. They have not lost their accreditation yet, but it is a grave situation. They've passed most of the requirements of middle states, but there's two left. One is about finance and accounting of the monies. The other one is about governance. The governance is an issue of who sits on the Freeholder Board and how they conduct themselves. This middle states has found the operations of that part to be woefully, and I say woefully, inadequate and incorrect. So what I would hope will happen is, and I've made the request at a public Board of Trustees meeting at Essex County, that those individuals who were sent through this body, through the county exec, who were put there illegally, should resign or be removed. And if the county exec chooses to put them back, they ought to at least follow a legal process rather than a violation of the law. But the Essex County Freeholder Board have the opportunity of consent. So I'm appealing to you not to run the college, because that's what's gotten us in trouble in the first place. People who shouldn't be running the college were running the college. And I would also want to remind you that if you look at the amount of money that's paid to legal for the college, it is not in the best interest of this community or the students. So please, if you don't have the law, I can get it to you. But I would hope futuristically that you will obey the law and not allow anything that's illegal to be done to put people on the Essex County Freeholder Board.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment on any issue at all? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comment session. I'd like to make a comment myself, though. This is going to be my last Freeholder meeting as president, and I have to tell you, it's so fitting that this is my last meeting as president, because everyone knows that I love people power. And hearing the different groups come before us today, you know, that's wins over politics every single time. And, you know, you're right about this foreclosure situation and how legislators, and I hope whoever sits in this chair next year, takes this ordinance very serious. And especially if you live in or have ever lived in an area that could be described as blight, low to moderate income, urban, whatever it is that you want to call it. We also received a letter from Frederica Bay that I just opened up that was saying the same thing. The public is watching. There were 3 freeholders here, myself, Freeholder Jones, and Freeholder Seabolt. And, you know, everyone else should really be taking this thing serious because our people are suffering. And we're the #1 sufferers of this in the country. So I just want to say thank you to those groups and everybody who came to the microphone. And this is something that only continues to go whenever people power continues to rise up. So thank you. Madam Clerk, we have an ordinance which was withdrawn by the administration for introduction and first reading. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Madam President.
Okay. Do we have any ordinances and resolution on second reading and public hearing?
Madam
For
President,
listening
we have
purposes
none.
only? Any ordinances or resolution on second reading and public hearing?
Madam President, we have none.
Okay, now we're going to move to the resolutions. We're going to ask that you read the resolutions into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, can you please explain resolution number 1?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. And before I begin, Madam President, I want to congratulate you on your service as president to the Board of Chosen Freeholders. I commend you for your service and wish you all the best in whatever ventures or areas you go into next. You should be very satisfied and proud of what you've done, and I just want to extend that to you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
The first item on the resolution, Madam President, is some budget transfers that we need to do, as we usually do during the end of the year, and Mr. Acker is here to explain.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening, Madam President.
Good evening.
Members of the board. Mark Acker, Director, Department of Administration and Finance. The transfer resolution in front of the board this evening totals $2,423,000. The primary transfer is in 2 areas. Our sheriff's office, there's $1,400,000 being transferred into their salaries, and that's reflective of their overtime. And we're also moving $600,000 in other expenses into our road and bridges account, and that's for snow. There's a few salary adjustments that are in there. And as far as where we're getting it from, it's wherever we find that we have available balances. But again, the total transfer is $2,423,000.
Mr. McInerney.
With regard to the snow, so we're going to move money down into the appropriation to absorb some of the snow removal that we're having before the end of the year, correct?
Yes.
But we still have a sizable reserve set up for snow removal if need be.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And that's what, a couple $1 million?
It's 3.9.
Okay, good. So we're in good shape there. With regard to the police overtime, could you just explain a little bit what the reasons for the sheriff's overtime is?
A couple reasons. One large one is that they rely on chargebacks where they provide services to some of our county entities, and the budget for those county entities doesn't include the money to pay back the sheriff. So that's a large part of it. But the rest of it, Frank, you know, it's an issue we're trying to address as we go forward in the 2018 budget, as far as increasing the appropriation for overtime.
Okay. And you're talking about what areas like welfare where we have chargebacks?
Parks, welfare, yep.
So we have to budget maybe a little bit more in there.
They're the 2 larger ones.
Okay,
Correct.
I got you. All right, and then obviously it's coming from the corrections department where we're seeing, in the beginning of the year at least, there was less need for that large appropriation we had there based on the volume, or the reduced volume, I should say, that was applicable to Delaney Hall.
Correct.
Okay, All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Acker.
Mr. Paul Vecchio.
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay. Hearing none, please list it. Mr. Jackson, we're going to move to resolutions 2 and 3. If you could please explain.
Yes, Madam President. Items 2 and 3 are relate to our general liability and our insurance coverage here at the county. And 2 items, Mr. Walker, our risk manager, is here to explain.
Thank you, Robert. Need to tilt this up a little bit. Madam President, thank you. Board members, Tim Walker, Director of Risk Management for the county. The first resolution is for a contract award to Inservco Insurance Services. They are the third-party administrator for the county's liability and casualty claims. The county put out a competitive contract RFP, and 6 firms bid, and the high score was Inservco. The period is from January 1st, 2018 to December 31st. And the final dollar amount was $94,000, represents a $1,000 savings to the county. Any questions?
Mr. McInerney?
Are we self-insured for general liability claim and casualty claims?
For the first $500,000, we have a self-insured retention. Above that, we have excess coverage.
Okay, so it's the first 500,000 per claim
Yes.
that we're using these,
Yes.
this contract for? Okay. And was this the same firm we had last, or in the prior contract?
Yes, yes, they were
I
the
think we've had it
incumbent.
for a while, right?
Probably 4 years now.
So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Any
Mr.
other
Paul
questions?
Vecchio?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Walker, could you just briefly explain what third-party administrator does and what your interaction with that
Sure.
group is? I just think it's important to know.
Sure, no problem. A third-party administrator essentially is the claim managers for all of the county's liability and casualty claims. So if there is a slip and fall in a park, all right, they are the parties who will go out and do the investigation. If there's an attorney involved, they'll contact the attorney, they'll set up a claim, they'll establish a claim reserve, and we will interact with them typically quarterly. We have claim reviews, but on a daily basis, we speak to them on a variety of different matters.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, freeholders? All right, hearing none, please list it. Let's move to resolutions 4 and 5. Mr. Jackson?
Did we do number 3?
You did?
We didn't do number 3.
You didn't do 3?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Number 3
First one, I didn't
is
say 3.
to extend our contract period for BGIA, who is the insurance broker for the property program at the correctional facility. It is a $0 extension, and we are extending it for 3 months while we put out a competitive RFP.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
Yeah, and Mr. Walker, this will be at the current rates we're paying until we go back out for RFP? Or is there any
There's
increase in rate?
0 increase in rate. They are actually paid on a commission at the renewal, so it's no extent.
cost to the
No cost at all.
Okay, freeholders? All right. Hearing none, let's list it. Now. Mr.
Thank you.
Jackson. Resolutions 4 and 5.
Yes, Madam President. 2 items from our Department of Health and Rehabilitation. Mr. Del Gaudio is here to talk about each one. One's annual certification, and the others are an affiliation agreement.
Frank Del Gaudio, Director of the Essex County Hospital Center. First off, I'd like to thank the board for recognizing our employee with a commendation, Clarence Coleman, his induction into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame in November. A lot of us from the hospital attended. There was over 700 people there, and it was a great day, and I really appreciate the recognition. This resolution is it's an annual certification by the board to continue operation of the hospital center. What this is, there's a large report that has to be filed, staffing, a copy of the budget, approved budget, and we need a resolution from the board approving us to carry forward with the operation of the hospital.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
This obviously gives us the opportunity to get reimbursed for all of, I think it's 85% or so?
Correct.
About this?
Every year, what happens is our rates are based on 2 years prior. So we'd be operating from our inpatient days from actually 2016 for 2018. So the rate was already set, and I believe a copy was sent to the Freeholder Board with our rate for 2018. It's purely based on number of patient days, inpatient days. So the more days you have, the less your rate is. As your days go down, your rate increases. So it's all a formula that's used 2 years prior from all of the census data. We submit a census report to the state every day, every morning.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No question.
Freeholders? And for the members of the public who are here tonight or at home watching on television, tonight's meeting is a conference board meeting. That means that we discuss and vote on issues. Many of these items have been discussed in leadership, and this is just an opportunity to rediscuss them or hear about them in public as well. So if it seems like we're moving quickly, I want you to know that. All right, Mr. DelGuardia?
Resolution 5 is an affiliation agreement with one of our educational programs at the hospital center. This program has been going on for the last 10 years. They provide services to our patients through an education process that are overseen by our staff psychologists. Program's running very well. This is a 2-year extension of the existing affiliation agreement.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions on
Mr.
this.
Paul Vecchio?
Just to mention, this is at no additional cost to the county.
No cost to the county.
Thank you.
Okay. Freeholders? All right, thank you, Mr. DelGuardia. Please list it. Let's move to resolution number 6. Mr. Jackson?
Madam President, this is a professional service agreement to provide for medical services for the K-9 Corps with the Sheriff's Department at an amount not to exceed $40,000. The agreement is with the medical services from medical treatment for the K-9 Corps, and this is the vendors from Bloomfield. That's about it. It's Essex Animal Hospital in Bloomfield, on Bloomfield Avenue in Bloomfield. And again, it's for an amount not to exceed $40,000.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul
No
Vecchio?
questions.
Freeholders? How much do we spend on this annually?
Right now, we did not have a contract with anyone right now, Madam President. Julius Coltree, Deputy County Administrator, Purchasing Agent. Previously, we were going out for quotes for various injuries to the K-9 group throughout the Sheriff's Department. So what we did is we did non-fair and open, so at least we have continuity with one particular animal hospital. It happens to be one of the dogs very sick and increasing cost. So that's previously we just went out sporadically to various animal hospitals.
Okay, Freeholder Siebold?
How many dogs are part of the K-9 unit?
I don't have that number, Freeholder, but we can get it for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Freeholders? All right. The animal hospitals, 40,000 could be for one visit.
You're right.
So it's wise to go out for a contract. I'm sure that's the reason why this is even coming before us. Through past experience with some of the K-9 dogs needing to go see doctors. Okay, let's list it and let's move to resolution 7 through 9.
Madam President, these are 3 agreements that Mr. McCoy and Ms. Ramos will come up and talk about. Budget insertion items and some other authorizations to extend some contracts, but I will let them go through each one.
Good evening, Madam President, Freeholder Board, Terrence McCoy, Division of Community Action. I'm representing resolution number 7. It's a grant from the City of Newark to Essex County to assist with subsidizing rent for our low-income individuals and families. that are HIV and living with AIDS who cannot sustain paying their own rent.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
Madam President, this is just an insertion of the grant. It's not the expenditure of that, just the insertion.
Okay. Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
All right. Freeholders? Okay, thank you. Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Ms. Ramos is going to do number 8.
Good evening. Resolution 7 is authorization to modify the 2 existing contracts that we have for the intensive case management program. We have those programs already running. It's just to extend for the next 6 periods for the amount of $180,000. The 2 agencies that are doing the program, the state themselves shows those 2 agencies, like Casa de Don Pedro and Salvation Army Montclair. The resolution 9 is just to have the acceptance of, already received the grant award from the state for the social services for the homeless for the next year contract, just to have those forms signed so we could start the program on time January 1st.
Okay, madam. And this is for resolution number 8, right?
That the intensive case management program.
She said 7, but she meant 8 and
I know,
9.
I just want it for the record.
Yes.
This is resolution number 8, right?
Yeah, and I also mentioned 9.
Okay, thank you. And you just did, what did you say, Mr. Paul Becker?
She just spoke to 9.
So this is resolutions 8 and 9?
Yes.
All right, Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders? Okay, thank you. Let's list it for action later this evening. And let's move to resolutions number 10.
Resolution 10, Madam President, is to provide for medical services at our Essex County Juvenile Detention Center with Horizon Health in New Jersey. And Ms. Saunders is here to give you more detail.
Good afternoon, all. Gina Saunders, Superintendent at Essex County Juvenile Detention Center.
Okay.
And I also have Sandra James for Horizon.
Okay, and please tell us a bit about, what this is in regard to.
It's regard.
Sandra James representing Horizon. Number 10 is to provide medical services for the Essex County Juvenile Detention Center.
But what kind of services?
Medical services provided for we provide medical, mental health, and dental services for the juveniles at the Correctional Center.
Okay, thank you.
And just, if I may, Madam President,
Yes.
this is a 3-year contract for approximately $5.7 million.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is this one that was previously held at East Orange General? Mr. Jackson? Is this previously the East Orange General?
No.
Different, but
Yes,
similar?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. McInerney?
One thing that struck me odd is that the third bid, there was 3 bids, and one bidder bid $51 million?
It's a try. That's why.
It's
a try.
It was like 5.6 plus 6.5
Yeah.
and 51 million. I just found that a little odd.
Only in America, I guess. Right?
You had the same specs, I hope, right?
Yeah.
You did. Okay, thank you.
What if he was the only bidder?
We would have rejected.
We would have rejected that.
This was an RFP, I think, right?
Okay.
There was a score in there, I think.
Yeah,
this
they
was-
were scored.
yeah, This was
Yes.
graded.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't do too well.
Freeholder Jones?
I just want to ask now, with this amount of money, are those for young folks who are detained in the detention center, or is that citywide or countywide? And if so, how many do we have in the detention center that will require that amount of money?
Mr. Jackson?
It is for the Essex County, just for the detention center, not countywide. And the number of young people who are in there varies. I believe it's around 66 or so today, in that range, Gene, something along those lines.
It's 3 years. And this is also a 3-year agreement?
Correct.
That's the total for the 3 years?
That's correct.
How many juveniles? What's our
Yeah.
population average?
I think it's about 66, 67. It varies, day to day. I can give you the exact number.
66 to 67?
I can give you the exact number, just a second.
Freeholder Jones?
Is that on a daily basis, or is that for the entire week, or just how are those numbers?
She got to speak.
Fluctuates with how many they bring into the facility. We may have 67 today, and when I get back to the building, we may have at least, and we will have 66. It goes up and down depending on.
Are you putting the voice up? She's not speaking.
Okay, and please speak into the microphone and state your name and affiliation.
Gina Saunders, Essex County Juvenile Detention Center. It fluctuates. It depends on how many, the judge remand to the facility. It can be 67 now. We get back to the building, we can have a release. They go to 66, or we can have them bring in more to 67, 68. It fluctuates depending.
What's highest capacity?
Well, we can hold up to 242.
But the average is 67 a year.
Well, it fluctuates. Last year was a little bit more, maybe 70 or something like that, but it fluctuates depending on the crime traffic in the street with the youth.
Freeholder Jones, Mr. Paul Vecchio?
I have a question. So within these services, does this include medical staffing at the jail, so doctors, nurses, et cetera? I'll ask that question first.
Yes, it does.
And how many members of the medical staff are there?
Right now, it's 32.
32.
State her name, because the transcript.
And just state your name. Every time you come to the mic.
Sandra James, representing Horizon Health. 32.
32. And that's a combination of doctors, nurses?
Yes, doctors, nurses, mental health services, dentists.
Okay. And dentists. Does this also include prescription?
Yes, it includes medication also.
Okay. Thank you.
This is an amount not to exceed, right? What was it last year or the last 3 years?
It was $4.9 million last year.
That's how much we spent.
That was the previous contract, yes.
Or was that the previous contract amount not to exceed, or was that like how much did we spend?
That was the previous contract. I can get you, Madam President, the spent amount.
Okay, would that be helpful, Freeholder Jones? Okay. Freeholders? All right. Hearing none, please list it for action later this evening, and let's move to resolution number 11. Mr. Jackson.
Item 11, Madam President, is a program that's called Statewide Respite Care, which provides for relief for people who are tending to frail elderly relatives, and it gives them an opportunity to bring someone into the home to take go on a vacation, to take some time off, to take a breather while they're caring for, and then come back and return and take care of their loved one. And it's the amount of $594,515. This is the same funding as we had last year.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
I don't have any questions on it.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Hearing none, please list it. Let's move to resolutions 12 through 26. And 16 and 17 have been withdrawn by the administration.
Yes, Madam President. I'm going to ask Mr. Josh Zates to come up from the Parks Department, who's going to walk us through all of these.
Mr. Zates, if you can just hit one after the other. When you're done with one, just say so. I'll take questions and then go right to the next one. Sure.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 12 is a 24-month option with Land Tech Group for synthetics turf maintenance services. It's, like I said, the 24-month option, and they inspect and repair various synthetic turfs throughout the park system.
Mr. McInerney? No questions. Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay.
Number 13 and number 14 are actually related. Number 13 ties into 14 in that we have to waive previous budget levels in order to enter into our budget request for open space maintenance staffing for 2018, and that total request is for $4,204,208. We can, according to ordinance, we can fund up to 55 maintenance positions through the Open Space Trust Fund. Specifically, this would be funding 50 of those 55 positions.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
What was this number last year? I thought this was higher in the past.
You're correct, Mr. McInerney. It's slightly higher. Last year was $4,013,850, so it's an increase of roughly 190.
No, I was actually saying the opposite. I thought it was higher in prior years. You're saying it's not.
No, unfortunately.
These employees are covered under pension as well, or are they part-time employees?
No, these are all full-time employees.
And these are all covered under pension as well?
Correct.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
Right, and just to repeat, I'm sure I said it last year, what the board is being asked to do here as to number 13 is to waive a reference that was in an ordinance from the 1990s, which said if we were to, we could only fund maintenance employees if we kept the budget levels for parks at 1998 levels. Obviously, there's been a lot of improvements in the last 20 years to the park, so to keep the budget levels at 1998 levels would really hamstring the county and the operation. What the board agreed to do about 10 years ago or so was to look at this every year so that we didn't get rid of the ability to hold the budget tight, but did have the flexibility to annually waive that ability.
Madam President?
Mr. McInerney?
What it was, when this was instituted to pay all these maintenance workers in 1990 out of open space, the concern was that effectively you'd be subsidizing the Parks and Recreation budget, that you would reduce that and start paying it out of open space exclusively. So the theory was that you would leave that at least at the level that it was at in 1990 or there around, and so that it wasn't a subsidy.
Freeholders? Mr. Paul Vecchio?
Nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McInerney and Mr. Paul Vecchio. Let's list it. Josh?
Sure. Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 15 is the Parks Department's usual request for $125,000 from open space to do various miscellaneous projects as needed. We've done this for the last, off the top of my head, it's got to be at least 7 or 8 years.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions, Madam President.
I don't
Mr.
have
Paul
any
Vecchio?
questions.
Freeholders? Okay, hearing none. Josh?
Sure. Number 18 is a authorization to use $83,850 from the Open Space Trust Fund in order to design the Vailsburg Park bathroom building and basketball court renovation. And 18 and 19 are related, and Dennis from Public Works is here to talk about 19.
Thanks, Josh. Dennis Sedale, Assistant County Engineer. As Josh said, number 19 will use the funds from 18 to provide for architectural design services for Vailsburg Park bathroom building and basketball court renovations. The contract will be awarded to S&M Design and Consulting, and the amount is $83,850. I also believe, and Mr. Coltree, if you correct me if I'm wrong, that this vendor is a minority and a woman-based enterprise.
Yes.
Thank you. The Vailsburg Park building, what we're going to do is demolish the inside, construct new walls, ceilings, floor, window, lighting, doors, a new roof, the bathroom fixtures, some landscaping and signage. We're also going to include some new trash receptacles, benches, a drinking fountain, an alarm system, some overhead doors, and some walkway and drainage improvements. And we'll provide the offices with furniture and also some furniture for the community room. At the basketball court renovation, we're going to replace the existing surface. We're going to have new concrete posts, backboards, rims, and nets. And install a new basketball court surface and striping. Install 3 rows of bleachers and benches, and players' benches. Do some tree trimming, some concrete walkway, trash receptacles, and drinking fountains. That concludes what the designer S&M will do for us.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Pawlak?
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay. Hearing none, thank you.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. 20 and 21 are also related. 20 is the funding mechanism for 21, and this is for the Weequahic Park Playground Design Services. And again, Dennis can explain more about the project.
Dennis Sedaly, Assistant County Engineer. This will provide funding for a engineering design services contract for Weequahic Park playground improvements, and it'll be awarded to Bowman Consulting Group, and the amount is $67,490. And I also believe that this vendor is a certified SBE.
Okay.
Okay. The Weequahic Park playground, we're going to demolish and remove and dispose of the existing playground, design a new playground at each location, and it'll include fencing, be appealing to both boys and girls, meet ADA requirements, have a rubberized surface, 2 separate play areas for children 2 to 5 years of age and 5 to 12 years of age, install some new drinking fountains, which will be dual height, benches and trash receptacles, signage, outdoor furniture, shade structures, lighting improvements, a spray apparatus, and all the equipment will be durable. We'll have swings, slides, climbers, and interactive musical instruments. A seating area for parents close to the playground, and we'll do some retaining walls, landscaping, and drainage. In the playground building, we're going to do an exterior rehab, change some of the fixtures, repair some partitions. Okay, it's the playground off of Elizabeth Avenue.
Thank you, Josh. You know that was a question of mine.
And we'll do some windows and doors. And that concludes the description of what Bowman is going to design for us at Weequahic Park.
All right. Mr. McInerney?
No questions on these.
Mr. Pawlak?
Yeah, a brief question. Dennis, the design services for both the Weequahic Park and Vailsburg Park projects, they're both entirely paid for out of the trust fund?
I believe that is correct, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Freeholder Seabold, I know you like to.
She's nodding in the affirmative.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I'll wait till after 26. I'm sure you'll tell us about open space. Okay. So, all right. Josh?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 22 and number 23 are also related, much the same way the previous ones were. 22 is the funding mechanism for 23, and this is for $168,500, all from open space for the design services of Glenfield Park and Brookdale Park buildings. And again, Dennis can explain the project.
Okay.
All right. Dennis Sedaly, Assistant County Engineer. The funding will provide for an architectural design services for Essex County Park building improvements. The contract, if you choose, will be awarded to USA Architects, Planners, and Interior Designers in the amount of $168,500. I have the president of that firm here tonight to speak about the project.
Okay, please come forward.
Thank you, Dennis. My name is Andrew Adornato, and I'm a principal at USA Architects. The project will consist of renovations at 2 parks for 3 buildings. At Brookdale Park, we'll have the existing field house, which is behind the stadium. We'll upgrade the building envelope. The building envelope will consist of all exterior improvements, new windows, new roof, new eaves, and we'll also do interior improvements, new toilet fixtures, new finishes, new wall fixtures, new ceilings, and we also try to assist with the design for an entrance, a welcome center. We will put new signage, we'll do new landscaping for that facility. We also do the tennis court at Brookdale. The tennis court building will include exterior building envelope upgrades, which will include new roof, new eaves, new gutter system, new drainage, and also we will, the sanitary system, we will upgrade out to the existing manhole. All new finishes. At Glenfield Park, we will do the senior building. Same scenario as the other two parks. We will upgrade the building envelope, consisting of roof, exterior walls, windows, wood trim, and on the inside we will upgrade the finishes and the kitchen for the members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Hey, Mr. Zeitz, is Land Tech here?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Unfortunately, they send their apologies. They were unable to make it this evening, but if the board would like to see them at a later time, they are certainly willing to come whenever that may be.
So not including the reorg, which is January 2nd, but they need to come before us at that following meeting.
Sure. I believe it's the 17th. We will let them know.
The contract is over $100,000. It's 226. Okay, Josh, you're up.
Sure. I believe we're on 24. 24, 25, and 26 are all very similar in nature. They are recreation services contracts. 24 is specifically for Glenfield Park. 25 is for Westside Park, and 26 is for Weequahic Park. The programs are similar throughout the whole recreation services for each of the parks. It includes a 6-week day camp during the summer. It includes after-school activities, athletic enrichment programs, various sports amenities, or what have you. And number 26 is over $100,000. We do have Doug Freeman here from the Weequahic Park Sports Authority to speak a little more about that contract.
Okay, Mr. Freeman.
Good evening. Doug Freeman, Weequahic Park Sports Authority President. I'm here to talk about the program that we do at Weequahic Park. For the last few years, we've been providing sports and recreation in Weequahic Park. During the summer hours, months, we do about 5,000 kids a week. Where we provide movie nights. We've been doing flag football, tennis. We've been actually doing things a little bit out of the scope where it was age 5 and up, but we added 4-year-olds. In our playground facility, we noticed that there was a flux of 4-year-old children, and they also came with the 5-year-olds. So it was kind of hard to do things with the 5-year-olds and then the 4-year-old would sit on the side. So our program now has taken on a new life where we're doing 4-year-olds. So our next program will be the tennis program that's coming up in January. And we also now have put together a flag football adult. We did it with the Essex County Sheriff Department. They expressed that they want to be included in our 2018 schedule. So now we'll be playing the different municipalities. I could go on and on.
Is it co-ed?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman, the
yes,
flag
it is.
football?
Yes.
And it's for adults?
Yes.
I'm going to need that information.
Okay.
Strictly for selfish purposes.
Oh.
But I'll share it with the community.
Thank you. We would like to play the different municipalities too. Any questions?
So we have to get East Orange a team?
Yes, we'll play East Orange Fire Department. The Sheriff Department said they'll play anybody. That's how it goes.
I love it. Awesome.
Right.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Mr. Paul Vecchio?
No questions.
Freeholder Luciano?
Thank you, Madam President, through you. Actually, for Mr. McInerney, I'm not sure if you have the answer. This money comes out of the capital budget, or does it come out of the Park Conservancy monies?
I'd have to check that. I'd have to check
Mr.
that
Zates?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. It comes out of the Parks operating budget.
The Parks operating budget. And I'm just also curious, because I looked in what we have here in front of us online. What is the money used for? Like, I know what it's used for, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, what exactly is it used for?
The county would pay the different organizations a monthly stipends in order to run these services for the community. So it would entail all the different recreational programs that those organizations would bring. We do have what we include is a recommended list of programs that we hope they offer, but certainly they come back and forth, and maybe we say, just for instance, we want to do soccer, and they say, well, baseball is more popular over here, so they do that. But there's a back and forth between the department and the different organizations in order to allow for the most beneficial recreational programs in that specific park area.
Do we provide them with equipment if needed? If they, like, I know you were just talking about flag football. Or is that?
We don't pledge you. No, it would be on the actual facility, the organization.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Freeholder Seymour.
Thank you. On December 4th, the Open Space Trust Fund Advisory Board met, and we reviewed many of the programs which are before you tonight. The wonderful part about all of this is that it really affects the quality of life of the citizens of Essex County. So many people use our parks. And just before, Mr. Freeman talked about how many people are using Wigwag Park. All over the county, people are coming to all of our facilities. In fact, Turtleback Zoo, for one example, has had more visitors than ever in the history of Essex County. And they're literally coming from outside of Essex County because we have so many facilities here that are attracting people from all over. And yet we continue to make everything better and better. And I think it's just absolutely marvelous that we have such a great quality of life here in Essex County. Thank you.
Okay. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Thank you. How are these different groups vetted? And what's the selection process?
It's put out as a competitive contract, so it was put out, I believe, 3 years ago. We, obviously advertise it, and the proposals come in, and they're evaluated by an evaluation committee, and then whichever one scores the highest, we would make the recommendation to award to that organization.
Is there a limitation on what one organization, how long they can remain in the program?
These 3 contracts, if you're talking specific months through the program, it runs from March to December. Are you referring to specific months or just a long-term?
Long-term.
Well, it was a competitive contract, so it's a 3-year contract with a 2-year option, which would obviously be 5 years, and then we would have to go back out for another competitive. We'd have to advertise again for the services, and then again it would go through the selection committee.
All right, thank you.
Freeholders. So I just want to say that these organizations are nonprofits, right?
Correct.
And nonprofits are an extension, traditionally, to be an extension of the government. The government cannot do everything and reach everybody. And these nonprofit organizations have been in these parks and in these communities, and oftentimes coming out of their own pocket and sacrificing food on their own families' tables for the greater good of the community and providing these services. So when I see things like this coming before us, it's with the understanding of the sacrifice and knowing the level of services that they provide. It's a privilege to vote yes on something like this, because this is what we should be looking to do. We have had those come before us who were for-profit, and they were offering recreation services. And I'm sure that we remember that. And, but this here is something where come one, come all. They can go over to Weequahic Park and other parks throughout the county that some of the conservancies have things like this throughout the county as well, and arrangements, and participate in recreation. And it's especially important for those families that cannot necessarily afford all of the different fees and equipment and everything else for their children, or they themselves, like we just talked about, adults participating in flag football. That's all physical fitness and things. So I just want to say thank you to those nonprofit organizations for working so hard and tirelessly, and for your sacrifice, and honestly, with all the things that they do. And it really is, it becomes like a bit of sweat equity. And you look at $112,000 and think about how many children that they service and families that they service, it's almost as if their position themselves are volunteering. So, you know, it's a privilege to vote yes for 26, and thank you for what you all do at the Weequahic Park Sports Authority, and for having the drive that you do, and the vision that you do, and the commitment to that park and the community. Freeholders? Okay.
All right. Thank you, and I just wanted to wish the entire Freeholder Board a happy holiday.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Zates, I want to tell you that you have been very good, and thank you for your patience. I don't know why, but it seems like you are always one of the last directors sitting here.
Well, thank you, and best of luck to you in whatever future endeavors you partake in.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your work. You're a true asset to the county. Okay. Mr. Jackson, we're going to move to Resolution 27.
Madam President, this is a professional services agreement to provide photography for the County of Essex, being awarded the amount of not to exceed $50,000 to Mr. Glenn Friesen. It's a publicly advertised fair and open RFP for professional services, and the gentleman is from East Orange and is also an MBA. I think I see him sitting over there.
In the corner.
Looks familiar.
Hey, Glenn. I didn't see you over there. Mr. McInerney?
I have no questions.
Mr. Polavecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? I just want to say, Glenn, your photos are always immaculate. You turn them around quickly, and anything that we ask for, you truly are available, and you help us memorialize various different activities and really record history in photos for the county. So thank you. Okay, hearing none, let's list it, and let's move to resolution. By the way, we're going to be listing 12 through 26 as well for action later this evening. Let's move to resolution 28.
Items, actually 28 and 29, Madam President, come from the Office of Purchasing, and our Director of Purchasing, Mr. Coltrane, is here to explain.
We went out to bid for delivery of bed linens and bedding for the Department of Corrections, and the lowest responsible bidder was Goraltex Corporation. The contract will run from January 1st, 2018. It's a 2-year contract for till December 31st, 2019. And there were 9 bidders, and like I said, Goraltex Corporation was the lowest responsible bidder.
Mr. McInerney?
Were they the lowest responsible bidder along with some of the other ones?
Yes, we are also using the other list of, that you'll see here for other parts of cooperation through the bidding process. So what we did is anyone, particularly if they need a certain type of linen or bedding, they would go to one of the other companies.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Polavecchio?
No additional question.
Freeholders? All right. So it's the 200,000 is divided by 7.
That's correct.
Okay. Freeholders, let's list it. Let's move to resolution number 29. Mr. Jackson?
Again, Mr. Coltrane.
Madam President, historically, we come back annually or throughout the year for maybe 10 or 12 times for surplus property. What we're trying to do is give you some relief rather than coming back and always asking for us to put it on the agenda. We would like to have one resolution. This way we can go out either for auction for various automobiles that we have and other surplus property such as computers, etc.
Okay. All right. Mr. McInerney?
So this is anything for that surplus property, obsolete surplus property with a fair market value which exceeds 15% of the threshold, which is $6,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The other thing is the funding goes back into general revenue when we do receive
Correct,
our
right.
funds.
So this is more or less a blanket approval by the board to go ahead and sell what you can if its value is greater than that.
Yes, Mr. McInerney.
Okay. And it's for the period of January 1st, 2018 to the end of 2019.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Polavecchio?
Just saying the law requires that the sale of the surplus property be done by public auction, so it's not optional to do this.
Correct. We use a online auctioneer currently for our vehicles and other property that we sell.
Mr. Polavecchio, is that sufficient?
Yes.
Freeholders? Okay. Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Madam President. Item 31.
30 is withdrawn. Yes, 30 has been withdrawn by the administration.
Correct. Is with the Division of Family Assistance and Benefits. It's to provide some shelving for our records management program, and Mr. Fusco and the vendor are here to explain.
Good evening, Madam President and board members. My name is Al Fusco, Project Manager for Division of Family Assistance excuse me, and Benefits. We're here tonight to procure approximately $252,000 worth of shelving for our records management project. The shelving will be installed in 3 floors at our Rector Street location, as well as two rooms over at 50 South Clinton, East Orange. The procurement is going to be done through a cooperative agreement with the state of New Jersey, which we avoid going out to bid. We're going to go procure through a state contract. And the contract is with W.B. Mason for the Mayline type shelving we're looking to procure. And the vendor's here tonight.
Okay, please come forward and state your name and affiliation.
Phil Mattel, representative of W.B. Mason. Welcome.
Thank
Hi.
you. Hi.
How are
Tell
you?
us about the project.
Well, it's not
How are
paper
you?
this time. It's rack systems.
Okay.
And Al and
Everybody knows what rack systems are.
well, they're for the records. What we're doing. I've got all the drawings if anybody wants to see them here.
Okay. So they're racks to put records on.
Yeah, it's all for the records,
Okay. They're shelves.
pretty much.
That's what we call them in 2017.
We call them rack systems, but yeah, you're right. Shelves way back, yeah. Bookshelves. Used to be banker boxes at the time.
All right, Mr. McInerney.
This is a state contract, Madam President. It's already approved by the state of New Jersey.
Okay. Mr. Polavecchio.
Nothing further.
Freeholders. All right, hearing none. Let's list it for action later this evening. We're going to move to Resolution 32. Mr. Polavecchio, will you explain Resolution 32?
Sure. We were required to establish a time and place for our annual organizational meeting for the Board of Chosen Freeholders. You're going to shame me. This is on January 2nd at 7:30 p.m. or 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock p.m. at the school across the street.
North Tech.
The North Tech, thank you. I don't have the address.
Mr. Polavecchio.
I'm ad-libbing.
It's all right. Okay. Freeholders? Mr. McInerney? Okay. No, I'm just seeing if you had questions. Just seeing if you had questions.
No questions.
Okay. All right, hearing none, we're going to list it. Madam Clerk, I promised the family that resolution number 35 would be read into the record at this freeholder meeting. If you could please read resolution 35.
Okay. Resolution 35, in memoriam for Robert Lee Spruill. The second, sponsored by Freeholder Timberlake.
Thank you. Freeholders, are there any questions for resolutions 33 through 46? Okay. Hearing none. There will also be a resolution prepared, and I'm sure it will show up on next year's agenda somewhere, but for Peggy Dunnigan, and the services are yet to be announced. Yeah, Freeholder Johnson.
41 through 43.
Yes. Okay. Freeholders.
Same.
Okay.
Who?
Richardson.
Same ones?
Mm-hmm. Freeholders.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hearing none. Are there any report of board committees? Freeholder, you want to talk about the nonprofit symposium? Nonprofit symposium?
Sure. It was held last week, the nonprofit second annual symposium, where we had 5 expert panelists in funding, discussing, sharing ideas, expert advice for nonprofit organizations on how to go about finding funding opportunities through foundations and banks. It was very successful. It was very well attended. And I just, I hope that going forward in the years to come that this committee continues offering different tools for the nonprofit community to be able to interact, network, and use that information to grow their business and in return assist our residents here in Essex County.
Thank you. All right. Are there any legislative reports? Is there any written communication? Any unfinished business? Any new business to discuss? Okay, we're going to open up to public comment session before we have a special presentation. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment?
James Harris, 9 Pleasant Avenue, Montclair. To hear that you will not be the president of the Freeholder Board, I just want to say thank you very much for your leadership. It has been courageous, and you have really been an example to prove that leadership matters. In fact, it's inspirational to see your leadership compared to the leadership at other levels of government throughout this country. So I just want to say on behalf of the New Jersey Association of Black Educators, thank you for making a difference. You have been transparent, and what has really been exciting about your leadership is every resolution has required a public explanation by the people who is getting the contracts. The one thing that I would like to hope that whoever becomes the new president, that this board will seriously consider developing an affirmative action impact statement. I sat tonight and listened to all these folks who are listed. They came up. I didn't hear anybody ask how many African Americans, how many women, how many so forth. I didn't hear anybody ask if the company's from Essex County, New Jersey. And these questions are important because Essex County has some of the highest unemployment in the state. So if folks are getting contracts but not hiring people from this community, then we're contributing to a problem rather than solving the problem. And I'm sure that some of these contracts are large enough that folks would be willing to become responsible if they had a better idea of what the Freeholder Board is expecting. We've got an awful lot of companies in this state and in this county that have few, if any, African Americans and other underrepresented minorities. And if they're getting government contracts, they ought not to get a free ride. They ought to have to answer
I remember Mr. Richardson early on would ask, you know, how many people are from Essex County? Do you have any African Americans? I remember Mrs. Jones and Mr. Johnson asking that question, and most certainly President Timberlake, you asked that question consistently. My request is don't stop asking those questions, because if you stop asking the questions, the contractors are going to think you don't care, and it's going to hurt employment opportunities in Essex County. And I most certainly hope that whoever succeeds you in that chair will be as focused, dedicated, and diligent as you have been. And I just want to wish you, on behalf of the New Jersey Association of Black Education, the best of all things wherever your future leads you. And happy holiday to all of the board members.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harris, and I appreciate you. And I have to tell you that the testament of my leadership that you speak of, and the fearlessness, first it comes from God, because I don't fear anything or anybody but God, and then sometimes my mama. But definitely God. And I know that whenever you're doing what's right, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And live by that. And secondly, because of leaders like you in the community who constantly ask the questions and constantly stand for what's right and on the side of right and don't care who it rubs wrong. So please continue to do what it is that you're doing to hold everybody's feet to the fire, because it helps in battle and in leadership whenever you can turn around and you see soldiers behind you who are fighting the good fight along with you, and that you're not by yourself. So thank you for what you've done over the years that even superseded me, and paving the ways and what you did as a state NAACP president, and what you've done in Montclair, and it just speaks volumes. So thank you, Mr. Harris. And I don't have a speech tonight, but I'll say my speech whenever I'm sworn in as not Freeholder president, but as Freeholder on January 2nd, God willing, if I live to see that day. Now, okay, any other members of the public wishing to comment? Mrs. Desko, I always like the way you get out of that chair to walk up here. You get out with such tenacity and purpose.
Again, I'm R.A. Cowboy, District Leader, South Ward 48, and I was very shocked to hear that you will not be the president after this meeting. And I came up here with the intent to see why I came up here, and I told you when I came up here there was a reason that I came up here, and I told you that I would let you know what that reason was. And I found out through the Holy Spirit that it was all in your name. And this is why I had dedicated myself coming up here, because I know that things would change because of the strength that you have from the Holy Spirit. And what it is in your name, and I'll say it, is Brittany in Timberlake. But it wasn't like that from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit says, break a knee now. Timber, that's the tree falling. And the falling into the lake. And the lake is the water, and water is the word. And that means that you were, if anybody don't understand it, is chopping things down, knee level. And that's where you chop a tree down. And the falling of that tree was bringing you to the strength of straightening things up in this Essex County freeholders. And I knew that it was going to change behind that. And this is why I'm just sorry to hear that you're changing up. But whatever your endeavors, I'm wishing you the best. And God be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowboy. Mr. Tedesco, now you got to walk just as fast as you were about to the first time.
Good evening. William Tedesco, Roseland, New Jersey. I know you're going to have a ceremony, but since this is public comment, I want to thank Mr. Freeholder Bobadilla and Freeholder Toro for their service to the board on social issues or whatever. I'm surely they'll be missed by the constituents, even though they don't represent I'm not in their district or whatever. I will say my district freeholder, Len Luciano, and I want to congratulate him on his reelection and everybody on the reelection, basically. And, I wish them well. I will miss them. I love to talk to Mr. Bobadilla when we're in the elevator. Sometimes it's great or whatever. But, I wish you luck. I'm very sorry to hear that you're not going to be the president anymore, but things pass, and that's normal. We're here for a while, and God's choice, and tomorrow somebody's going to take our place.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean anything. The world will move on, and people who that may be better and better ideas will be up here like I am talking and whatever. But I want to wish as well, and Godspeed, healthy new year, happy holidays, and whatever. But I didn't forget my speech 3 years ago about the time. I know you've done better, but to me, 7 o'clock is 7 o'clock. It's not 7:01. It's not 7:05. I'll give you a C+. But also...
but wait, now you have to talk about my attendance, okay? Because you can't be up here.
But better than mine.
All right.
I looked it up.
Okay.
I think you made every meeting.
Yes,
I missed 3.
Just say it.
Just so you know. Very good. But I hope the attendance, I know we all have times where we're absent or something like this, but I wish the freeholders would be 9 freeholders here. And I know once in a while I go on vacation or there's a family thing or whatever, but I think it's important. You're here like I hear these other people. You're doing the people's business. You're here serving the people. People forget that. You're our servants, our representative. So that's important issues. Whether I like some of the things you do or not, it's still important to hear all your views. It's very, very important. Other countries don't have this, where I can come up and speak, or other people come up and speak to hear us. So please, if you can, 7 o'clock, and try to be here. But thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. I'm going to invite you on my next diplomatic trip when I go to the continent of Africa, and particularly West Africa, because I just want to see your reaction when 7 o'clock isn't 7 o'clock. And that the program starts when God wants it to. All right. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment? I do just want to put on the record, because this night is not about me, this is about my colleagues, but I want to put on the record that my not seeking re-election for president is my choice and was not forced or asked upon me by anyone. And there are other things, in the future, and this is an opportunity for others to take the mantle and to work for the people and not for politicians. That's my hope for whoever else sits in this seat. Now let's go into our ceremony, because this night is about Freeholder Cynthia Toro as well as Freeholder Bobadilla. All right, so we have Freeholder Wayne Richardson, Freeholder Seabolt, Freeholder Len Luciano, Freeholder Rufus Johnson, and Freeholder Levy Jones. And standing here is also Freeholder Bobadilla and Freeholder Cynthia Toro. And Freeholder Bobadilla, I'm sure you've never seen one of these before, so I'm going to explain to you what it is. before the public, this is a commendation and a proclamation that we bestow upon people who have served or done exceptional things and reached high heights. And you are no longer going to be in freeholder mode, but you are certainly, I'm sure, not going to abandon the title of community servant. And this is something to memorialize your work here on this freeholder board, and all is memorialized in this resolution. You know, you were sworn in to fill an unexpired term as District 1 freeholder, which, by the way, Freeholder Bobadilla includes Newark's North Ward, East Ward, and parts of Central, South, and the West Wards. And he was elected to his first full term in November 2011 and re-elected in 2014. You have been well qualified and have used your expertise in the form of your Bachelor's of Science of Arts degree in business from the City University of New York and applied it to things here at the Freeholder Board and shared that with us. You also have an extensive background in information technology, worked as a computer systems manager, analysis liaison, and technician for numerous firms. And he's also been the business liaison to Latin American emerging markets. But Freeholder Bobadilla, you've served on many committees, including Health Care Benefits Committee, Rescue Recovery Oversight Committee, ECIA, Labor Union Oversight, and so many more. So it gives us great honor, and also in a solemn form as well, to present you with this resolution sponsored by acclamation, memorializing your service here at the Freeholder Board, and we are sure to know that you're going to go on and do bigger and better things. Now, this here it really might be something, no sarcasm, that you haven't seen before, and it's a clock to memorialize again your time here in service at the board, which is inscribed with your name.
All right, I guess I got to give up the keys to the office, right? I made the joke coming in that my lease is up, right? But I tell you, first I want to acknowledge my family, because when you serve the public, you're not at home too often, and your family misses you, and with 3 young girls, it's been challenging, and my wife, obviously. But what I've done over the years is I've included them through my journey. So when you see my pictures on Facebook, they're planting trees with me. They're cleaning up sidewalks with me. We're doing things for the community together. And for me, that's been a real pleasure to include them in this journey that all of my colleagues have taken the step to commit to public service as well. So first and foremost, my family. Second, I want to thank my colleagues for your guidance, for your leadership, for your friendship. Freeholder, thank you. Freeholder President, I second and echo the words that were shared about your presence here in this body, and you are a true leader, and whatever you do, it's nothing short of success. So I'm sure you'll do great things. To some of you that I know a little bit more personal than others, thank you, Rufus, Levy. Keep it straight. You know, my friend Lenny, one of the biggest labor fighters here, Pat with Parks, and obviously the first Latina freeholder. And let me just say something about that. I think in this time and age, when you account for the female population, account for the Latina population, it is sad to see that she is no longer going to be a representative in this body. And unfortunately, we know that that's a tale of politics, but I think that's an egregious action that was made because I think that she deserves to be here. She represents the community, she represents Essex County, and she is a well-qualified individual. To the clerk and your staff, thank you for all the years of supporting not only myself, but everybody here. As you know, I like to joke around when I come in. I don't take the things too seriously sometimes. But I can tell you that I really feel comfortable. I feel comfortable in who I am. I feel comfortable in what I've done. I feel confident, and I'm confident in my flaws as well as my strengths. And I will keep on fighting for people because there's not too many people that can fight on their own. And I'll continue to do that. And sometimes you'll see me on that side because we need to engage on certain fights which are vital and important in our community, not only for progress, but also for making sure that there's equality and access. That being said, I want to thank the administration. Mr. Jackson, Mr. Coltre, please let the executive know that I thank him for his leadership and guidance as well. Mr. McInerney, thank you again. I won't miss the budget meetings at all. But I just really want to say thank you. For me, it's been an absolute honor and one of the most amazing things I can share with my family and my friends. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, and Freeholder Cynthia Toro, this resolution here is for you, and again to memorialize your time and service here on this board. And I too am also sad to see you go. You've done so much while you've been here, and you are the only social worker who was represented here on this board. And in that, I believe it shaped a unique perspective that you had, and something that this board is going to miss bringing to the table. Your ideas and things often came from that lens, which I believe is a lens that is needed when serving the community and populations sometimes that are disadvantaged. In your time, you have chaired many boards. You've chaired the reviewed nonprofit funding board and the workforce committee, and you've done an exceptional job. No one could speak to that workforce committee better than you could, because you had also worked for the state in that building and knew exactly what was going on and what was not. That too is a perspective that is going to be missed by this board. You also helped to combat foreclosures and worked with the nonprofit to help save people's homes by way of a form of principal rate reductions, which is so needed. And, you know, I second what Freeholder Bobadilla said. This is the first Latina who sat on this Freeholder board. First of all, that's a shame. I always say that, even when talking about myself, about being the only current African-American sitting president. That's a shame. That doesn't deserve applause, because it's 2017, and there should have been many before you, and there should be many along with me. But we see how much we have to go. But you did break that barrier, and you are the first. And now there's going to have to be others that come and serve, and you have paved the way for them. It is sad to see you not be on this board, because Latina leadership, minority leadership, and female leadership is something that is needed, not only throughout this state, not only throughout this country, but throughout this world. And you have served exceptionally. You need to be able to keep your head held high and move forward in whatever it is that you do. I know that you're going to excel as long as you stay true to yourself, and you also move in a fashion where you realize that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, because I've never seen God shut a door, at least for me, that was supposed to be open. All doors that are shut for a reason. And we don't know, but trust me, it's for a reason. However, on this side of spirituality, here on this earth, I'm very sad to see you go. But I know that whatever you do, you're going to serve well. And thank you for paving the way. Thank you for being an inspiration to many young girls and other Latinas especially. And I'm going to miss working with you.
the stuff. It feels like a farewell, but really it isn't. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to be in elected office, but I live in Bloomfield. I love Essex County. I'm in the community. And, you know, it's like a blink of an eye. Just the other day, I took the oath of office, and now here I am. You know, it went so fast. But it was definitely a privilege and an honor to serve in this capacity. My colleagues, to all of you, each and every one of you, you know, in one way or another, you admired me and made me want to work harder. I said I wasn't going to do this. And be better. You know, and really, being in an elected office is really difficult. I admire elected officials. I was in their shoes, but really, your life is an open book. You know, you're on the clock all the time. And, you know, and it really takes, you have to have that drive and that passion to really want to see, you know, what you do, that it really makes a difference. And that was by far my favorite part of the job. You know, there were difficult days, but it was when those stories, when you were able to see how your efforts, or collaboratively our efforts, what we did made a real difference. That's what would give me the energy to keep going. I'd like to thank the Freeholder staff and the clerk. You know, they're amazing. They make us look good. They make what seems the impossible possible at times. Just an exceptional group. And I'd like to thank the administration. I've said it many times before, you know, our county executive is the best county executive that Essex has had. And we just kicked off his re-election campaign on Monday for his 5th term. And I'm, you know, excited to know that Essex County will continue on that successful path. And he has a great team, which he always talks about. All of the directors of all the departments and everyone here. Thank you. And lastly, I just want to thank the public for bestowing their confidence in me, for casting that vote for Toro. And, you know, I came here with a purpose to create positive change, and I leave here knowing that I did just that. And I am proud of that. And again, to my colleagues, you know, now I'm going to be on the other side. I'm your constituent, but I have all of your cell phone numbers. So I hope you pick up my call going forward. But thank you again.
Okay, Freeholders. So we have one more last responsibility that I saved for until after the presentations, and that's we actually need to vote. So is there any resolution that needs to be extracted from a collective vote? Resolutions 1 through 46 with resolutions 30, 16 and 17 haven't been withdrawn by the administration. Okay, hearing none. I have a mover and a second to take those resolutions.
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Richardson. All right, Dag, Freeholder Richardson, you couldn't let Freeholder Toro move it for the last time?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
I withdraw my. Please.
Move it.
Move it. And the second is? All right, second by Freeholder Bobadilla.
Of course I can.
All right, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bobadilla. Freeholder Vice President Gill, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Toro.
Yes.
Freeholder President Timberlake.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. We're going to move to Freeholder comment session. Are there any comments? Freeholder Luciano?
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I just want to put a couple of comments on the record here regarding our colleagues that have served tonight as their last meeting, as this is our last meeting until 2018. I apologize that I have a hoarse voice, but if you could bear with me a minute.
It was him.
I want to start with, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of like going around the Freeholder board here. So please, no one shake my hand when you leave tonight. I don't want to get anyone else sick. But Freeholder Rolando Bobadilla, my colleague, my friend, it just seems like 6 years ago, and it literally is a little over 6 years ago, both you and I began sitting on this Freeholder board around the same time. In August 2011, I came onto this board in the seat, and Rolando came in, I believe, in September of 2011. And I remember our first meeting together like it was yesterday, because just as Rolando showed up to the meeting, we had an angry mob of people that didn't want us to, how can I say this in a nice way, manage our deer population in Essex County. So right away, we were in the hot seat as freeholders. But it's been quite a journey. You know, 6 years goes by in the blink of an eye. You've done an outstanding job. And just last month, talking about our friendship, you were out knocking on doors, helping me get reelected. And you know what? The residents of Newark in your ward in East and North Newark are very proud of you, as am I. And all I could say is that when one door closes, another one opens. And I know you're going to be very successful in the future. Cynthia Toro from District 5. So I go back many years with Cynthia. Before we were elected officials, I served as a commissioner on the Essex County Utilities Authority. It was a volunteer position that I was appointed to, and our office was located in Fairfield. Across the hall was the Essex County Improvement Authority. And sure enough, a commissioner on that board was Cynthia Toro. She also was doing her due diligence, learning government, and serving as a volunteer. And that's where we became acquainted and met each other, and we were friends ever since. I'm very proud of what you've accomplished in 3 years. I think the folks in your district should be very proud of you, and like the President said, serving as the first Latina on this governing body is a real milestone. As is the case with Freeholder Bobadilla, when one door closes, another one will open. And I know that your career in service and working for the residents of Essex County hasn't ended. And I'm just proud to call both of you my friends. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Freeholder Luciano. Freeholder Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Bobadilla, we have came pretty close in this period of time. I mean, when we start spending our own time together, you know that we've gotten close. You're very smart, right?
We would be even closer if you were an Eagles fan.
You're very smart, you're very bright, you're very articulate, and the sky's the limit. I don't see this the end of no path for you.
I can't spell, but.
And I hope that you're not planning on making it, because whatever it is, I'll be there to help you out, because I know what you stand for. I know how pure your heart is and what you really stand for your people, and you should be that way. But I thank you for being a part of us and being a part of me. And we'll always be close over there. Toro, Toro, Toro.
I got a bromance going on.
Now, let me tell you, I grew on Toro. You know, I didn't really know who she was or whatever, but her personality, her keen smartness, and the way she's handled, I've seen the way she's handled some of the committees and the meetings and things. I said, this girl got a future. I hate to see that you're going to be leaving us, because I wish you would stay here longer, would be here with us longer because of the things that you developed. I'd like to see some of those things that you put in place continue and go on further. But don't worry, baby. Rufus got your back, all right? That's my girl. I'm going to miss you. Thank you.
Freeholders. Freeholders, Seabold.
You first. Ladies first.
I just want to add to what has been said so far. It's been a pleasure serving with Freeholder Rolando Bobadilla and Freeholder Cynthia Toro. They both were a tremendous asset to the Freeholder Board. I wish you both well. I'm sure that the future will be bright for both of you, and thank you for all the time that you both served on this board. It was great having you both here, and I wish you the very best.
Freeholder Richardson.
So to my friend Rolando Bobadilla, straight shooter, intelligent. We worked together on getting that vote out for Ecuador, making sure that that event happened. I was excited to work with you on such a big event because it was huge for the country, to ensure that folks who live here had an opportunity to vote for the president that they wanted to elect back in the country. And that's when I, it's near the end, but that's when I really got to know who you were and what you were about. Tenacious, you were like a pit bull. You latched on to something and you moved it, made it happen. So I want to miss that straight shooting ability that you do. And to my sister Toro, like you said, you're going to be around. You're very smart. And what I really liked about you, you were always prepared and thorough. Always had your reports down for your committee. When you came in, you had your agenda together. So that thoroughness and completeness, those things that you brought to this board will be missed. Also want to say to Madam President, it was said in here tonight in terms of your leadership style, what you brought to this board, how courageous you were as a leader, and what you've done in terms of some of the initiatives, the banking initiatives and some of the other things that you've done, that you brought to this board, really was transformative and helped a lot of people's lives. So I just need to say that. And the last thing I'll say is what you've done in terms of in that seat and how high you raised the bar. Some big shoes to fill, whoever goes in that seat. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Freeholder.
I'm just going to talk to all three of you. I'm not going individually, Cynthia, Bobadilla, and Brittany. I am just so happy. I'm delighted to work with young people. I haven't been in this business for many, many years. I'm not going to tell you. But when I came to this board and saw all these young leaders, like the three I have just named, it made my heart flutter of joy because my work has been done. But I'm going to say to all three of you, this is your first step. Man does not determine your future.
That's right.
God determines your future. And if you believe in it, you work hard, you talk to the people, your people get to know you, you can become anything you want to. I'm a living example. So I won't be seeing you on this board, but if it's anything I can do, and when I tell people, I don't make promises, but if I tell you, you can go to sleep on it because I have given you my word.
That's right.
I see bright future for you and all of you. And I'm going to be here on the Freeholder Board this term to be sworn in. So it's no excuse that you don't know where I'm at. But at the same time, there's a telephone booklet or a list with our numbers. You can call me at any time. But the shocking thing is, you, Miss Brittany, say you won't be sitting in that seat. But I'll talk about you later because I'm not in the improv. But listen, congratulations, you will be truly missed. And when I say I love you, it's from my heart. And there's nothing I wouldn't do to help you. Thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Freeholder Jones. And I appreciate you and your support over the years. You've been steadfast and fearless.
Bless
and
you.
I know we serve the same God, the God that put Saul in his place and rose up David. So,
Madam President, you have been spectacular. I mean, in being with some of the other presidents that have been here and seeing them from the outside, you have definitely made the sunshine in this place. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you do and the way you go about doing it. Some of us would have probably gotten pushed back, but you pushed through. And I want to let you know that I really acknowledge that. And I like that about you. And sky's the limit for you, I know.
thank you, Freeholder Johnson.
And you're
I'll
gonna
be running
just as
against
good.
Donald Trump in 2020.
Hey, ho, you gonna get it? Hey, you gonna get in Cory
Not
Booker's
re-election
way?
announcement. What'd you say?
You gonna get in Cory Booker's way?
I know. It's a joke. Corey's got it. Freeholders. Freeholder Toro.
Just quickly, I gave my speech, but I didn't, get to acknowledge Freeholder Bobadilla. That over the years, together I have so many memories, good memories. You wouldn't always see eye to eye in a lot of things, but you were always respectful, and I always respected, your point of view and definitely your dedication to your community. You're just always so present, and I know that we'll keep in touch, and who knows, work together in the future at some point in community events as well. And for President Timberlake, everything's been said. They really do have large shoes to fill. You made your mark, and in a great way, you made a difference. And I loved, how in such a short period of time you went about doing all of that and meeting those goals and accomplishments. And it's been a pleasure serving with both of you as well.
Thank you, Freeholder Toro. Freeholder Seabolt.
Thank you. I want to thank President Timberlake for the wonderful job she has done for 3 years. I've been here when there were various presidents of this Freeholder Board. And Brittany Timberlake, you have been unique in your leadership, truly unique. And you've done a wonderful job. And thank you for all that you've done for this Freeholder Board in the past 3 years.
Thank you. I got a wonderful y'all.
Yeah, that's the only one, too, that came out.
Yeah, right? Freeholder Bobadilla.
I think I've said everything I need to say, but in closing, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, and may God bless you all.
That's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And before I hit this for the last time in this role, I have to say something for the last time, and that's hi, Daddy. Yeah, give Daddy a round of applause. My father, Philip Timberlake, who's always here, letting people know that he's around. That's what you do, and that's what a good, strong father, and black father, might I add, does. He always makes me laugh. You're funny. Okay, I won't repeat that. Motion to adjourn.
What did he say?
He said a very good.